And welcome back inside Creaking Door Paranormal Radio. Brad, I'm blaming you. You lost the keys to the door. We couldn't get in for almost a year.
I told you I could pick the lock.
Yeah, and it's actually
been done before.
You have picked the lock to this studio before, but whatever the reason, wherever the keys went, we'll blame the ghosts and the ghouls and the goblins. We found the keys. And we're back into the studio.
Yeah, it's good to be back.
Yes, it is.
It's been a long time. It has, and we have not been vacationing. Well, not the entire time. I mean, we've had a lot going on, and it was just the right time, I guess, to take a pause, and it's the right time to come back. I know you and your lovely wife picked up another radio station through the years. Yep. I wrote and put out a new book.
Yep.
Paranormal Justice, pick it up on Amazon.
Get it? It's awesome.
Cheap plug there. Paranormal Justice, Hauntings, Cryptids, and Curses in the Court of Law. That was a little something I started up during the COVID pandemic to stay sane. And I finally got that finished up, published, and that's out there at the moment. And I mean, we've been going nonstop. We've done, I don't know how many live appearances at various events.
And one of them being that since before we came back on, we were in England. We got to speak at Sage Paracon, which was what an amazing event and experience it was.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. We have literally been around the world in the last year. So, but now we're back home.
We are, and we're back in the studios of Creaking Door, and we want to thank all of our listeners as well who have been coming up to us at the event and wanting to know when we're going to come back with another episode, and we've kept telling you it's coming. We're going to do it, but we wanted to make sure we were ready. We had the time for it to properly come back and to keep it consistent for you, our listeners, because we wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for you guys downloading the shows and listening and streaming Creaking Door Paranormal Radio. So we do appreciate it.
And what a great comeback show today, too.
Yeah.
We have a young lady who Tim and I have been fortunate enough to become friends with over the past year. And first time inside the Creaking Door for Miss Jessica Chobat.
You got it. She's going to be coming in, of course, from Expedition X and many other exploits in her career, and we're going to find out about that. And something tells me, Brad, we're going to keep this opening segment a little bit shorter than usual because we know Jessica. We've gotten to know her well. She likes to talk.
She does.
We'll have a good time.
And we have her live in the studio with us. So, we're going to allow for a little bit more time there. But let's kick off and get right back into some para-news because a few things have happened in the year that we've been gone.
Just a few. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. And for those of you who are new to the show, if this is the first time you found us, what we do in the opening segment, we do a little hello, and then we go into para-news. We're going to keep it short today. We do two stories each. Today we're just going to do one. And Brad, go ahead and kick it off because yours is a very hot topic right now.
Well, you know, it seems like the drama around the Conjuring house never really goes away. It might ebb and flow, but we're kind of at a peak again.
Yeah, we are.
With that historic haunted location. A profanity-laced social media post by the Conjuring house following a decision by several involved with the business to sever ties has fans questioning how the allegedly haunted Burrillville property at the focus of the enterprise is being operated. The 300-year-old farmhouse, now known as the Conjuring House, came to fame following release of the 2013 Warner Brothers hit horror film of the same name. The movie was inspired by the experience of the Perrons, a family who lived there in the 1970s, and an investigation of the property by well-known paranormal experts Ed and Lorraine Warren. Situated in Jennifer Heinzen, bought it for $439,000 from former owner Nora Sutcliffe. Under the Heinzen's management, the house was open to visitors for tours and overnight stays with high-profile investigations conducted by big-name celebrities in the paranormal field, including Travel Channel's Ghost Adventures. And I know tons and tons of people have been in there doing things since.
Yeah.
But yeah, it kind of took a bizarre turn here in the last few months. Boston-based real estate developer Jacqueline Nunez bought the 8.5-acre property and accompanying ghostly business from the Heinzens for $1.5 million. Heinzens were among a group of 7 involved who announced that they had cut ties with the house in a post on social media this past June. Now, even after they had sold the property, the Heinzens were still involved with the paranormal exploits at the home. They were still going in, leading ghost groups, and working on social media accounts, different things with Nunez. So a note signed by the couple, that would be the Heinzens, stated, "To correct rumors that are circulating, it's with heavy hearts that we must inform everyone that that we decided to sever ties with the Conjuring House due to our own experiences within that work environment. Our connection to the spirits of the house remains strong, and we deeply desire for their stories to be told with respect and care, continued the note. We're incredibly grateful for the outpouring of love and support from all of you. Rest assured, we will continue our work within the paranormal community with the utmost love, respect, honesty, and integrity. So you know when people start throwing that integrity word around, there's a little something going on in the background.
There is. Read between the lines on that one.
In what appeared to be a reaction to the posts, the business's Facebook page published a long rant filled with expletives, leading to hundreds of comments noting a lack of professionalism. The Conjuring House is the most famous haunted location in the world, the business stated. Maybe. We attract hundreds of people from around the globe per month to Burrillville, Rhode Island to partake in one of our effing experiences. Yeah, we really do not care about people who abuse and attack people. We consider them evil and wicked people.
Oh.
Yes, wicked. It continued, in fact, we never want any person with these personality afflictions to visit us at the Conjuring House. So if you're among the wicked mood personality challenged, then stay away. Mm-hmm. This, of course, out there on social media.
Right.
So I am not apologetic that I needed to turn over the first wave of TCH staff, noted the business. Among the reasons for the dismissal of these people were cruel and hateful verbal abuse towards others and suspecting that some staff were fraudulent in the investigative methods. I will never be defeated or destroyed now or any time in the effing future. So
classy.
So effing be it. The Heinzens later addressed the business's statement in a video stating, "None of us were fired despite what she's saying. We've been very nice up until this point. We've been very professional, but we will defend ourselves." So, yeah, it's been interesting to kind of watch a little bit of this on social media. Mm-hmm. I know Cody DeBaines and Satori Haas were involved in some of this that got out there, and since then, Jason Haas from TAPS Ghost Hunters has been attacked on social media by the current owner. I spoke to Andrea Perrin. If you're not familiar with Andrea, she is the oldest daughter from the Perrin family who The Conjuring's based on, and a dear friend of Tim and mine. I spoke to her a few weeks ago, and this was not the topic of conversation, but it did come up. And let's just say, without getting into our topic, Andrea's fairly disgusted by what's going on there. She really does not like the way things have turned there. She really enjoys having the house open to people and letting people go through, and of course the whole spectacle it's become since the release of the movie, but not a fan of all of the drama that's accompanying it.
Yeah, and she's been very quiet about it, and I respect her for that. But there have been some other very high-profile names in the paranormal community that have really come out and shared their view on this as well. So there's a lot of people who are very upset about what's going on right now.
Yeah. And you look at, of course, what this woman paid 3 times what the Heinzens paid when she bought the place off of them. They made a good chunk of money in that sale, I dare say.
Yeah.
And whatever happened in the background, we'll probably never know. I know the paranormal field in general has been somewhat split over this. Mm-hmm. But it seems like the drama with this house on Rhode Island is not ending anytime soon.
Yeah, and sadly, the field of the paranormal is not, it's used to its share of drama. There's so much drama in it, and a lot of finger-pointing and he said, she said, and unfortunately, that's what we're seeing here.
Yep, just another case.
All right, here's my story for Paranews, and it's not so much paranormal, but I'll tell you this much, it is downright friggin' scary. You think we would learn from Hollywood, although Hollywood puts out a lot of bad movies. I credit them for the Jurassic Park movies, especially the originals. I thought that was a great topic. I thought it was the way they portrayed it. The storyline I thought was very well done. Well, we are literally on the precipice of that. As closer than people think, woolly mammoth de-extinction is nearing reality. Scientists are getting very close to bringing a few iconic species like the woolly mammoth and the dodos back from extinction. No word of T-Rex yet, so that's a good thing, but there are those who are saying this is not necessarily a good thing to be happening. Now, Recent breakthroughs have brought science closer than people think to reviving long-extinct species. Ben Lamb, co-founder and CEO of Colossal Bioscience, told in a recent interview the company aims to produce its first mammoth look-alike calves by 2028. And he said, quote, it's highly likely that there could be another species even before then, and he is talking about the dodos. Now, the woolly mammoth lived in the Arctic between 300,000 and 10,000 years ago. To produce the calves, colossal scientists will first identify the genes encoding the woolly mammoth's most emblematic physical traits, such as the shaggy hair, the curved tusks, fat deposits, and a dome-shaped cranium. They will then insert these genes into a genome of a closely related and therefore genetically similar Asian elephant, is what they're saying. Now, those against it are saying that... let me make sure I got my notes here.
Yeah,
right?
I don't... Yeah, I understand the fascination with this, but, you know, I kind of... along the lines with Darwin, you know, it's survival of the fittest, I guess.
Yeah.
But you're going against nature almost in this.
Yep.
I'm kind of torn on this.
I am too, and especially to bring back species like that. How will they fit into today's ecosystem?
Exactly.
You know, and with today's lineage of animals, you know, and some of the people who are against it even said that. They said, why would we bring back creatures that have died out centuries or millennia ago instead of taking care of those that we have still? You know, worrying about that. They say what is gone is gone. So I'm with you. I'm kind of torn. I could see where something like this could be very impressive and useful, and say if for some reason the bald eagle were to go extinct somehow, you know, I mean they're a part of our lives these days. So if next month something happened, they're gone. Maybe we could bring them back that way, but I don't understand the whole woolly mammoth thing.
And is this a one-off that they're just doing this to show they can, or are they going to produce a male and female and try to find out whether or not they can reproduce?
Yeah.
I don't know why they wouldn't be able to if they're bringing them back in their original. It's just there's a lot to be, I guess, thought about on this from an ethical level.
Yep.
You hope they're doing that, but knowing how a lot of science works and the big business that it is nowadays, there are questions.
Yeah, for sure. And I certainly don't think they're going to stop at one. If they can do it, they're going to go with it. So we'll see what happens. But they say by 2028, they expect to have their first woolly mammoth calf.
And here you never thought you would have the opportunity to have a mammoth burger.
That is very true. All right, there we go. There's your paranormal stories for this welcome back edition of the Creaking Door Paranormal Radio Podcast. Thank you for tuning in. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, welcoming in a first-time ever visitor, as Brad stated earlier, into the Creaking Door, Miss Jessica Chobat on the way. You're listening to Creaking Door Paranormal Radio, powered by Bridge FM.
Intrepid explorers Duff and Shaw landed their airship in the heart of the World's Fair, unveiling their latest exotic snacks and confections from their adventures in parts unknown. Have you yet tasted their mysterious dark chocolate almonds straight from the shadows of the Himalayas, a recipe only known by the Yeti himself? Or from the deepest heart of the jungle, the sacred gummy, so captivating it was worshipped by ancient tribes? Have you dared seize the forbidden sour gummy, the treasured confection of the pharaohs? Or have you braved Duff and Shaw's secret spicy Buffalo Ranch cashews, crafted by the king of the cryptids himself, the elusive Sasquatch? Have you indulged in the sour cherry eggs from the shadowy Mothman, or from local legend Prissy, the monster of Lake Superior? These snacks and many more are available at duffandshaw.com or at your fine local establishments, Mystery Town, USA, Cup of the Day, and Great Lakes Gifts. Run, don't walk to gobble them up before the season ends. Until next time, adventurers, Duff and Shaw's legendary snacks. Snacks too good to stay a mystery.
think of Michigan's Upper Peninsula as the scary attic sitting there above the rest of the state. I can think of no better guides to take you inside the history and lore than the guys of the Upper Peninsula Paranormal Research Society. Those are the words from writer and lead researcher for the hit TV show Ghost Adventures, Jeff Belanger. For over 20 years, the Upper Peninsula Paranormal Research Society has dedicated their lives to researching the paranormal. And now, some of their favorite cases are brought to life on the pages of their debut book, Supernatural Haunts. Come inside these pages with the team as they share intimately the history of each location and their experiences during their investigation. Learn their techniques and some of the most intense moments they have faced. True stories and true accounts of ghosts await you inside the pages of Supernatural Haunts by the Upper Peninsula Paranormal Research Society. Get your autographed copy today at www.supernaturalhaunts.com. And welcome back inside Creaking Door Paranormal Radio, as it is Tim Ellis and Brad Blair back in the studios again. And
Finally!
I got to tell you, it feels
back.
good. We've been having people asking us when we were coming back. We kept saying soon, soon. Well, soon is finally here.
We lied, but
Yeah.
here we are.
Here we
are back in the studio.
It's good to be back in the studios for sure, and doing what we love to do, which is to talk paranormal and everything strange and weird and cryptid. And boy, do we have a strange one for you now. Actually, we're very happy. We're very happy because she's actually in the studio with us. Usually we're doing it either over Skype or Zoom or over the phone, so we actually have another body in the studio with us. Yes.
We had to wear pants this time.
Yeah, exactly. We actually had to dress today. But we're so happy to be welcoming inside the Creaking Door for the first time, a first-time visitor. It is Jessica Chobat joining us this
fellas.
episode. Thank you so much for taking time to be with us.
My pleasure.
We wrangled you because you were here for Michigan Paranormal Convention, so we're like, man, if she's here, we got to get her in. Yeah. So let's do it.
Well, also, to your point, it's really nice to be doing podcasts again face-to-face.
Yeah, that too, right?
I also, most of the time when I have to do my podcasts are through like Skype or whatnot. And it's just, I don't know, it's doable, but it's just not as fun.
Well, especially for you living on the other side of the globe right now.
Yeah. For those that don't know, I'm over in the EU, and so for me, which also makes it harder to try and wrangle in potential interviews too, because then the time difference is so different. So for my nighttime, it's usually people's like 6 a.m. And oddly enough, not many people want to get up that early to go talk about whatever it is.
I love it. So how long you been over there, and is that the future plan for you as well to stay over there for a while?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I never really have. I've moved around a lot in my life, and I have a tendency to get bored of a place after about 5 years, 3 to 5 in general. I think the longest I've ever stayed anywhere was probably Los Angeles and also Michigan, because I was forced to because I was underage and had to live here with my parents.
Mom and Dad
although I
staying.
also like it. Yeah. So I don't know if it's going to be necessarily, right now I'm in the Netherlands. I don't know if it's going to be necessarily staying in the Netherlands or just moving around, bouncing around the EU in general. Probably bouncing around. I really like it. It's, the history for me is a big draw. Now there is a whole bunch of paranormal stuff that I can investigate or look into that I was never really overly familiar with before. And I have access to actually go there now versus, having to wait for a show to send me or getting lucky and just doing my own explanation during a vacation. It's like I can just ride my bike 45 minutes and end up at the Witch's Weighing Station,
That sounds fun.
So it was, and apparently I'm not one, so I was really bummed out. But,
keep trying.
Yeah.
But I am. I'm absolutely going to keep trying. But it's really cool. So they have this interesting, not that people are necessarily asking for this, but if they want it, they have this interesting taxes program over there, which is also why we're going to stay for 5 years. Is that they're, because of the friendly exchange. I don't know the formal name of it, but there's like this exchange program between the States and the Netherlands. Okay. Not like student exchange, but just like, if you come over, vice versa, you get a tax break for like the first 5 years, or at least that's how it is currently standing. And so we're going to ride that out because why?
Why would?
Why not?
Yeah, that's money in your pocket.
Exactly.
See, not only do you get paranormal advice here, but you get tax advice.
Yeah,
now.
tax advice, travel advice, whatever you need.
One thing I love about Europe, and you're kind of alluding to it, I guess, too, is you can just hop on a train and go for a few hours and be in a complete different country, a complete different setting. And it's so easy to travel. I know people that kind of fear travel and the unknown and going overseas. It's so much. I think it's easier to travel in Europe than it is in the U.S., honestly.
I would agree. There's a moment that if you can get past it, I think you're golden. And that's that first initial step as far as, okay, I'm not going to be overly afraid of the trains. If you can get if you can figure the train system out, all of the EU is pretty much open to you at that point.
Is the train system pretty crazy over there?
It's just really well run.
Oh, okay.
It's just really well run. And it's so I'm an anxious traveler in general in life, even though I've done a ton of it. And even I now am like, you know what, I'll just pack a backpack and hop on the train. And that's just for the EU. So you don't even need to have your passport. Well, I mean, if you were traveling from the US and you would need it for the first initial step. But once you're in, you're in.
Okay, yeah.
London's a little different since they separated from the EU. You still need your passport for that, but it's only a 3-hour train ride away from my house.
Yeah.
So, you know, I
Nice.
can end up in London. And so it's very similar to traveling from state to state the way it is here, except the difference is instead of just finding a different version of Applebee's, you're in a completely different culture within 2 hours.
Right, which is so
completely
cool.
different.
So
Not that
cool.
there's not different cultures within the US.
Yeah.
But it just seems like there's like this kind of a commonality baseline across the board, like Starbucks are Starbucks, and you know, Applebee's are Applebe's, and that's not to say that there's not chain restaurants and whatnot overseas. There definitely are, but they've just been independent from each other for so long that the bones of the culture being different from whoever is next door is a little bit more noticeable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what a cool designated driver to have, right? You can go party, jump on a train, and get home.
Oh, dude,
I
just go to the bar and then I ride my bike home. I'd rather fall into the bushes than get really in trouble.
Reminds me of a Tim story from Mackinac Island a couple of years back where I think we pulled you out of some bushes at a Halloween party.
Yeah, it kind of did bring that to mind. I wasn't going to say anything. Thanks for bringing it up.
Sticking on topic with travel, though, you traveled a lot when you were with Expedition X. Any favorite places that you said, hey, I would love to come back here. I didn't have enough time to explore because I know on the filming schedule you're so busy.
Oh, the filming schedule for those shows are brutal. But I would say to your about your question, Cambodia for me was so cool.
Oh,
so cool. It's like, you can go to your posh places; they definitely exist there. But when you go there, it's tourism, but it's not like going to Hollywood and Highland. You know, it's not like I'm trying to think of it, or like Paris. There's certain areas of Paris. You know, you go to the Champs-Elysees or you go to see the Tower. It's like there's tourism there, and there's definitely tourists, but it's kind of just, you know, it's just so different, and it's they're trying to build, I think, up to that point eventually. But and I almost like, I get it, I know why, and I
money.
Understand.
It comes down to money.
Well, of course, and you want people to have jobs, and you want people to have security with all that money and those jobs bring in. But wow, there's a charm to it the way it is currently. That's just, and it's also so different that you really feel like you've traveled somewhere significantly different from what you're used to.
Right.
And I mean, I remember we were driving along, putzing around, just kind of exploring. And do you know those flying foxes, like on Instagram and stuff, where you see people like rehabilitating these bats that have like fox faces?
Oh, yeah.
They like fruit
I was actually
and
thinking
stuff.
of flying fox, but they're bats that look like foxes. Yes.
I don't give
With,
a
like,
flying
these
fox.
Fox faces. They're just in the middle of the town square in the trees, and they're huge. And you're
Do
just
they
like,
swoop at you? Do they attack you?
They don't attack you, but they kind of, you know, you get a little buzz
Sure.
and every once in a while, but they mostly stay to themselves.
That would
But
be fun to
it's just,
see.
it's so neat. I mean, it's normal for the folks living there, but for me, where it's like, oh, there's a sparrow, maybe I'll see an eagle. Well, holy shit. This gigantic flying fox just buzzed my head while I'm walking through town, and I'm kind of like, whoa.
Yeah. Food-wise, I know traveling into some of those countries, that can get a little tricky. Did the production crew bring American kind of food or food that you guys like to make sure you had that, or did you have to adapt? And if you had to adapt, was there a place that was just so bad?
No place was so well. Okay, but it's a me problem. I'll tell you that story if you want to hear it. In general, no place was so bad. Everything was really, really good.
Yeah.
We did obviously have Crafty on set, but it's your basic like Slim Jims and a box of Nerds.
Perfect.
I'd put in my request for.
That's in your rider?
It was.
Slim Jims and Nerds.
Yeah, it was. They were like, "What do
it.
you want for the show?" I'm like, "Sour candy and some Slim Jims." And they're like, "You got it." I'm like, "Sweet."
That kept the budget in check.
I'm like, "Just go to Costco, get a huge bag, and we'll call it a day." My food horror story is, so Phil has a couple of allergies, like significant ones that we got to be careful about. And but because of his, like the stuff that I don't like to eat, particularly eggs, I don't like eggs.
Okay.
I have a problem with eggs.
Liquid
I'm not
chicken.
allergic.
Yeah.
I just
Don't
like
like
eggs. And so, but it's not going to kill me, so I never thought to bring it up when anybody was like, dietary restrictions. I'm like, when am I going to have this be an issue? It's fine.
Right.
So we go out to Brazil. We're in the middle of the rainforest, out in the middle of truly nowhere. We had taken a boat down the river for like a full 24-hour ride, and we are like smack dab in the middle of, nowhere. Yeah. But the people that were running the boat, it was, I guess you could say, it was like a cruise ship that we had rented so that could be our home base for when we were shooting the show.
Yeah.
And so they would on certain occasions make meals that we could take out if we were going to be out in the woods like for super, super long. And so Phil gave them the dietary restrictions so that he didn't die, and I didn't say anything because I was like, whatever, like what are the chances? And the chances are high that when you're out in the middle of the rainforest in super humid heat and bugs and everything, that somebody decides that day they're going to serve you an egg salad sandwich. Which is going to be your only food for the next 12 to 14 hours. And I was like, oh my God. And it was warm and I was hot and I was so sad. But I knew that I wasn't going to have any food for the rest of the day, and this was going to be it. Like, I got to eat this thing, right?
Right.
So I force-fed myself, and I would take a couple bites and then kind of throw up in my mouth a little bit, but then, like, hold it in and re-swallow because it was, like, all I had. And one of our camera guys was watching it go down, and he was like, Jessica, I am so sorry. Do you want my apple? And I'm like, no, no, I don't. He's like, oh, my God, I can't believe we did this to you. And I'm like, just don't. And I'm sitting there sweating, and I'm like, just don't look at me. Don't look at me.
What a great story, and thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, no worries.
Probably one of the best stories we've ever had inside the Creaking Door.
It ranks up there.
All right, so I got to bring it up. Jessica, we are talking about Expedition X.
Mm-hmm.
Not too long ago, I did see on your social media you officially announced with the new season coming out that you weren't going to be a part of it.
Yeah.
Let's just touch on that and
we
can move on.
I can't and don't have much to say about it other than it was maybe just time to move on.
Mm-hmm.
There's just stuff that I was like, I think I gotta tap out.
Yeah. I mean, what, 7 seasons?
7 seasons.
Yeah.
I loved our crew. Like the people that we were working with on the day-to-day were fantastic, and it's a really hard job to like put all that stuff together, especially for folks that are also at the home office because we're out shooting right on the ground, and so that's hard enough as it is. That's like a whole separate ball of wax. But in the meantime, things fall through all the time. You lose your permits, and then COVID happened. That was its own bag of what the hell. And then, and so these people at the office that are trying to put this together are also struggling to make it all work. So, I had a really great time and really worked with a lot of phenomenal people in that respect. And I really do truly miss it. Like, it's a bummer. I'm not going to lie. Like, my heart, like, the other day I ended up, and we can get into this maybe in the next part, but I was buying clothes for new adventure clothes for something else. And like I legit teared up in line when I had to buy a carbiner because I was like, I remember when I had to use this on the day-to-day, you know?
Right.
And it's funny how addicted I got to kind of that kind of travel and adventure and, you know, honestly being paid to go to locations that were on my bucket list as a kid.
Yeah.
Of like when you're sitting there reading your Time Life mystery book, like, holy
Yes,
fuck, like,
exactly.
this place really exists.
Yep.
And you know, you're sitting in your little bedroom as a preteen in Michigan thinking there's no way I'm ever going to end up in the fucking jungles of Cambodia.
Yeah.
Right.
But I did. And I was definitely very aware of how fortunate I was. But so, yeah, in that regard, that really sucks that it has to end. At least in that space,
Right.
But it's not like you're sitting around doing nothing.
Well, it felt like that for a while. like for the rest of the winter, all this kind of went down in winter, leading up to when they were about to shoot the season, and winter was rough. Winter was a rough one.
Yeah.
Because nobody likes to feel bad about this stuff. So that one, so that I was kind of twiddling around for a while, but twiddling my fingers. But twiddling, how do I want to say this? Listen, guys, let's just move on. Anyway, but eventually, you know, you kind of like, you know, you feel the feels, you get over it, and you're like, all right, well, now, like, nobody's going to help me but myself, so I'm going to come up with some other stuff to do. One of those things, I really want to start an occult library.
Really?
Yeah, if you guys are interested, let me know. I want to start an occult library. I was thinking about doing a store, but then I was like, I don't want to deal with people and their money.
Yeah.
So you're thinking online?
No, I think like I want just a physical, weird place that I have. So I've collected so much stuff, and I also have a book buying problem.
Same here.
Ditto.
All of us.
Yeah.
All three of us
Yeah.
do. Yes.
And the thing is like, if you don't buy the book now, you don't know if it's going to ever go out of print. And if it goes out of print, then you got to track it down. And while that's fun, it might now at that point be
Now
way
you're
too much
paying
money.
$5,000 for a
Yes.
copy.
I'm just going to buy the copy now. So I have these stacks and stacks and stacks at this point of occult, paranormal, haunting book
Yep.
stuff that it's like I'm literally getting pushed out of my room. So I'm like, what way can we justify this problem?
Yeah.
And that's to start a library.
Okay.
So I'm thinking
I like
about
it.
that.
That's
I like
wonderful.
It.
That's,
Okay, so now I'm following you. You want to do a library, not a bookstore.
Yeah, not
Right.
a store.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I'm following you.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, maybe eventually one day I'll do a store, but just the thought of like dealing with people and their cash is not, it makes me nervous.
Yep.
It's retail's different. I will say that. I've been fortunate enough that I fell into a career in it that I love, and yeah, it's not for everybody, and
Yeah.
you're really married to the business. I can attest to that. Yeah. So totally understandable. My wife made me downsize a little bit in our we have a back library room behind our bedroom, and it finally got to the point that we had no more shelf space, and we had no space for more shelves.
Yeah.
So I've got boxes and boxes sitting now that
I always
I can't
try to help.
part though. I
Right.
can't part.
And that's the problem,
Yeah.
getting rid of them.
Yeah.
I always try to help Brad as the best I can every time I
He
borrow
does.
one,
He borrows,
and I never give them back.
Yeah.
right, and then I never
So
see
they
them again.
They go to my collection.
You just keep them?
Yeah.
Yeah, I never see.
I was thinking a good way to maybe scratch that itch, just to make my soul feel better about giving away these like book babies that I've collected over the years, is like give it to other libraries. But then that's how I got the library ideas. I was like, well, if I donate this, I want to donate it to a place that I know is not going to like roll their eyes at the contents, right? So that, luckily, oddly enough, Amsterdam has a really well-known, famous occult esoteric library that Dan Brown set up with the Amsterdam University out there. Yeah.
Have you gone to it?
Yes. Yes. It's really cool. It's in this building with a bunch of like carved faces all over it. This famous building. I can't remember what it was before it was the museum. I think it's literally called the Book of 1,000 Faces, or the Building of 1,000 Faces, or the Building with Faces, something like that.
Sounds
I don't
like
know.
Game of Thrones.
It does actually. Yes.
It's pretty neat. And then And then inside they had a collection of like, at the time, I don't know if it's still there. I don't know if it's their stuff, but they had a collection of like Audrey Beardsley's Arthur illustrations,
Yep.
and things of that nature,
Wow.
and like a bunch of other stuff. And they do seminars and teach and have like lessons on Hermeticism and the occult in general all the time. Anyway, yes, I was thinking about maybe giving them some books,
Yep.
but then I was like, fuck it, I'll just make
Do
my
your
own
own.
library.
Do your own. Come up
Why
with a
give
cool
away-
name.
Why give away my stuff?
That's right. That's right. So then you said, let's go back to what you said a little bit ago. You were in line buying some new adventure
Yes,
gear. Does that mean
adventure
there's something
gear.
new on the horizon for
There
you?
is.
Okay.
So I can't talk too much about it because it's not formally announced yet, and I
Yeah.
have to abide by the rules, which is
Right,
fine.
right.
But it's definitely happening. I'm actually, part of my trip out here for the Paracon is after the Paracon, I'm headed over to shoot this new show.
Okay.
And yeah, I'm really excited
Well, that
about
is
it.
exciting.
I suspect, I'll have to tell you guys off
Yes.
off mic,
Perfect.
but I suspect it's gonna. I've just got these vibes that I'm gonna run into something real weird.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait to
Yeah.
hear about it. All right. All right. We'll keep it just between us.
Yes,
three
and
kids.
then when I come back to tell if it happens,
Yes.
then you'll be my witnesses that the vibes were real,
Yep.
and then we'll just let it all hang
All
out
right.
on that
I'm
one.
Excellent.
I like that teaser right there. That's good. That's good. So let's go back, Jessica, and give for people who may not be familiar with your whole journey. You've always kind of been in the entertainment field.
Oh yeah. So
let's go back to where it started and how you got into this.
Yeah. Well. Oh. So I would say 2006, guessing. I'm really bad with dates,
Yeah,
but
me
let's just
too.
say early
Me
aughts,
too.
right? So early aughts, I was really into gaming. I was going through what I call my quarter life crisis, which is like I was in my mid 20s.
Is that a thing?
Oh yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, it was for me.
Okay.
Where it was just kind of like I followed all the rules growing up. You know, I got good grades in school. I didn't do anything bad. I do all the things that you're supposed to do. And I went to college. I did well in college, but like nothing was happening. I couldn't seem to get my life going. And I had a job, and it was a fine job as like a secretary somewhere. And but it just, I don't know, it just wasn't for me. It just wasn't for me. That life was not for me. And so I was like, well, what am I going to do? And I decided I really like games because I was big into video games, still am.
Yeah.
And so I was like, F it, I'm quitting everything. That was the crisis. That was the rock bottom moment. I quit literally everything. I was going to school for a second degree in art education. I had basically was getting, the goal was to become a college art history teacher.
Okay.
But to do that, you had to go through all this other like secondary education courses. And then right when it was time for me to take my accreditation testing thing, the state changed the law. And so I would have had to have gone and done primary courses as well as secondary, which would have added an extra 8 years. And so I basically,
Lord.
yeah, so I basically had, because I was paying for all of this out of pocket because I had already gone to college for 4 years and I didn't want to take out more loans
Right.
because then I would have been really in debt. Meltdown, quit everything.
Quarter life crisis.
Quarter life crisis. And I start working at EB Games.
Okay.
Because I was like, F it, I'm just going to work at EB Games. By working at EB Games, I ended up sneaking into E3. I also ended up getting this PSP thing earlier. Yes, I did post a picture of me licking a PSP that turned, thank God you guys don't know about it, but now you do.
Yes.
It turned into, listen, it was like my 1980s hit single, right? Like it was the one thing that like for that, it was the weird thing at that time.
Yep.
And everybody was like, whoa, because there weren't really a lot of like girls in publicly saying that they were into games.
Sure.
At that time, at least.
Yeah.
And so it just stuck out. And I saw what was happening because of it. I was like, all right, well, I guess, you know, that old Andy Warhol quote, supposedly, that everybody gets their 15 minutes of fame. I was
Right.
like, well, how can I extend this to like a career? So I saw the opportunity. I kind of just stuck my foot in the door to keep it from closing on me. And I just would cold call, or I guess it would be cold email, anybody I could to try and get jobs in the field. You know, whether it was with EB Games further up the ladder to become somewhere in their corporate department, whether it was doing gaming reviews, whatever. So long story longer, is that eventually I ended up getting hired by a company called IGN, which was really big into the gaming industry, and they were just kickstarting their video series for the internet, because the video on web was brand new. I don't even think YouTube was around yet, and so did that. And then eventually that led to G4, and then G4, so that was some TV experience.
Right.
Then I also had some live experience as far as covering conventions for like E3 or San Diego Comic-Con, so that was that stuff. You know, just built up the rapport over time. Ended up at Nerdist, and at Nerdist, I wanted to do the paranormal stuff because I really liked paranormal, like, it's, you know,
So you've
I've got
always
more
been
than,
into it.
Oh yeah, I've
as a
always,
kid.
it's more than one interest, you know.
Right.
I'm a multifaceted person, you guys. But yeah, since I was a kid, since I can specifically say since like 4th or 5th grade, I remember getting dropped off at the library and going and finding a book about Greek mythology at the library. I was a big reader as a child, reading through all that stuff, which then led me to like Norse mythology, which then led to Egyptian mythology, which then and then you'd hear about things like the Pythia and you know, the Book of the Dead, and so then what were those? So
Right.
then I look into that, and then it just kind of builds on itself,
Yep.
right? And then you end up in the weirdo section of your library.
Absolutely, we know it well.
Yeah,
That's where we grew up.
That's where I grew up. Yeah, exactly. That's where I grew up.
That was our internet back then. We didn't have, you know, so
Absolutely
we had to go
was.
to the local library.
Like, I know how to use the Dewey Decimal System.
Yeah.
I could find you a book. So yeah, so I was at the library. That was my jam. It wasn't really at that time when I was doing the game stuff, people weren't really interested in it. And then I saw the shift happen when I was over at Nerdist. People were starting to get, witchcraft was starting to come back and become very popular. You know, Bigfoot, people started having more paranormal podcasts, whereas before they would get laughed out of a room. Now it would just seem like it was starting to become more acceptable again. And so because of that, I was like, well, I've been doing this gaming stuff for so long, I want to do something paranormal. And I had been pitching around an idea for a show called Bizarre States. Nobody wanted it. Everybody was like, boring. And I was like, well, fuck that. Am I allowed to swear on your show?
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
well, fuck that. I'm going to, if nobody wants it, I'll do it myself, and I'll turn it into a podcast. And so that's what I did. And that's how I met Amy and Adam, because they reached out to... They reached out to me in order to have me and my partner at the time, this guy named Andrew Bowser, who was co-host with it with the podcast with me, host their San Diego Comic-Con panel one year when they were doing that for Discovery. That's also how I met Dana and Greg.
Yep.
That's also how I met Josh Gates, is he was a guest on the podcast first, and yeah, and then eventually just kind of stayed in those circles.
Yeah, it's really about connections, right? You make the connections and you become friends, and then you never know, one thing could lead to another.
Yeah. Am I talking too much?
Not at all.
I have a tendency to
You're
ramble.
our guest. We're here
sorry.
we're here to hear from you. So you're doing perfect. Actually, you're making our job very easy today,
Oh, good.
Jessica.
Good.
So we appreciate that.
But yeah, so yeah, it is all kind of about connections, and it also, I think, is it's always this is how it works for everything, right? It's always a combination of the hard work you put in, connections, and kind of luck of the timing.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, and being aware that, you know, to see the writing on the wall as the stuff starts to grow, like, okay, well, it's better to get in than the ground floor, you know, and obviously you're not going to you just do the best you can, and you're never going to be I guess I shouldn't say this for everybody, but my approach, and maybe this is the wrong way to approach it, but I always feel like there's always going to be, I don't know if this is the best way to raise your child, but this is how I was raised, is like there's always going to be someone better than you in general in life. Even if it's only in your brain, so you're always going to want something that somebody else has. It's always going to be somebody's always going to be slightly better than you,
Right.
which is fine, because then you can learn to focus on your own shit. So as soon as you start focusing on your own stuff and stop worrying about what everybody else is doing,
Yeah.
because what's the point of pushing that Sisyphean rock up that hill,
Right.
then it kind of just works out.
Okay, I like that approach.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, you know, that's the Midwest German mother approach to teaching your young female child.
You will never be the best.
Yeah, I mean, I might rephrase that differently in more modern times, but I get the gist she was trying to teach me. And oddly enough, it actually works, you know? Like, why am I trying to compete? I should just focus on my own stuff. And every time I have done that, it's worked out for the most part. You know, knock on wood. Yeah. Did you know that knocking on wood, potentially, did you see my other Instagram post?
About knocking on wood?
Yeah.
No.
So apparently.
Ooh. All right.
If we can swear.
You swear away.
Well, we're going to be talking about wieners.
Okay.
So apparently.
There's no way this goes back to something sexual, does it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, no. So, like in Roman times,
and they were very horny people. The Romans were so horny.
Well, so they would have
ridiculous.
phalluses all over the place as a form of good luck, and so that is supposedly.
Oh man. Okay, keep going.
So I was just wondering. I was like, is that where knock on wood comes from?
And.
I don't think so.
I thought you were actually...
No. I don't think so. But if you're interested, go to my Instagram page. There's a big... because the whole reason that just popped into my head is that there was a statue in the British Museum, and it was it was like this guy with this gigantic phallus, and then it turned out that those were both good luck charms, and then also... there's a whole thing. If you look up, oh my God, what do you call it when a person's going on a journey to find
a pilgrimage?
Yes.
Okay.
Pilgrims' badges often would have phalluses or vaginas. Also, that they would give to you, like the people that were running these locations that you were making the pilgrimage to, that they would give to you as like a badge of honor that you had made the pilgrimage. And it was supposed to be a good luck symbol from back in the pagan days. Anyway, how did we get on this topic?
I don't know.
I have no idea.
Knock on wood.
What was the part
knock on wood?
Oh, yeah.
Back to...
So then I saw this and I thought it was hilarious and I posted about it and I was like, wow, it really is weird what people consider to be good luck symbols.
Yeah.
And, but then I was like, oh, maybe that means the knock on wood thing. But then I realized, no, I think the knock on wood thing is like an actual... to scare the spirits away.
Something I thought I remembered hearing something like that too.
To scare the spirits.
Yeah.
But come see, come saw. Use it.
Yeah.
It's like chaos magic. If it works, fucking use it.
Yeah. I like it a lot. You mentioned your social media platforms. Where can people find you?
Honestly, Instagram is the one that I'm the most active on, which I think is just at Jessica_Chobat. Okay. There's of course like any social media account. There's a ton of weirdos out there faking accounts that are me, so look for that blue check mark in the proper spot, you guys, because
are there even fake blue check marks now too?
Oh,
Has that become a thing?
It's becoming a thing.
Yeah.
Like
someday, Brad, you and I will be so famous we'll know what this blue check mark thing is all about, but until then
it's not even worth it. But Instagram's where I'm the most active. I mean, I have accounts across Facebook as well, although not as much, but it's probably the second most active. I do have a
do you have one of them Twitters?
Discord account.
Oh.
I stay away from the Twitters.
The Twitters, yeah.
Yeah, all that stuff. Honestly, for one, there's just so many different social media platforms across the board that it's impossible to keep up.
Yep. Yeah.
Two, as I've gotten older, I find it less and less enjoyable.
Yeah.
That's why I like Instagram is I can just like it's pictures,
Throw it up there and be done.
Yeah.
Don't get into the politics and the infighting and the gossiping and it's such a cesspool.
It really is.
Well, and it truly is. It brings out the worst in not everybody. It's a blanket statement,
Most
but
people.
it just has to bring. It seems to bring out the worst out of everybody. But also, I would say the algorithm. I don't know who's programming this shit, but they're doing it. Now we can get into CIA theories. I just find it very odd what comes up as far as what they think your interest is.
Right.
And how subtle they are. Because you might click on something not necessarily because you're interested, but just because you're curious.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then all of a sudden over time your feed just becomes full of that.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're younger, let's just say younger, or just more impressionable, or whatever the case may be, or in a sensitive moment in your life, you really truly can kind of get subtly initiated or subtly brainwashed
Absolutely.
into this thought process and not even realize it's happening because it's so devious.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I just am really, like, that's my issue with TikTok sometimes. I'm in a love-hate relationship with TikTok. I really love it sometimes because, man, does it offer up some winners.
Oh, so I do more reels. They're the same thing. They're the same thing. I just spend more time on Facebook, so I check out the reels. But I can lose hours on that thing if I'm not careful.
Yeah, and it's like there's some really good educational, like esoteric, paranormal folks posting phenomenal, like the history of symbolism and all this stuff on there that I'm just like, wow, this is like a crash course, a college level crash course in like symbolics, right?
Right.
But then, or symbolism. But then it's like the next video is just crazy pants. And you're like, what the hell?
Exactly.
And then I was just like, ugh, okay.
No rhyme or reason. What comes through
it's
your...
just, yeah. So anyway, yes. Hit me up on Instagram, guys.
All right.
It's Jessica_Chobat.
Perfect. Anything else? Freedom or you?
I think we've pretty much we've covered
kept
the
it for a
giant
half hour.
phalluses.
Yes.
We've
covered
everything from occult libraries to giant phalluses. I think this show has it all.
It does have it all. We've overturned stones we've never overturned on our show before with Jessica,
should we
so I
have?
appreciate it. So then let's leave on the topic of pickles.
Yes.
Would you like to explain?
Yes.
Is this something people can find?
Kind of, sort of. So
Yeah.
just for obviously, since people are listening to this and not seeing this,
Right.
He is holding up 2 enamel pins that I have made to sell at the Michigan Paracon. And then if there's any left over, CryptidCon when it shows up. One is a paranormal pickle. I drew these, you guys. This is... Well, the ghost was helped with... my friend Avedon helped me with the ghost, but I drew the pickle. And I like pickles. And so I was like, paranormal pickle. I got a little chuckle to myself.
Yeah.
I might have had a couple glasses of wine. I'm like, we're going to make this happen. So that's all it is. It's a pickle with a ghost face.
Yep.
And then, oh God, now I wish I would
Back
never.
to phallus.
Now
The
I wish we would never have brought up the phallus conversation because it's going to sound like I want to do nothing but talk about dicks. It is a ghost. Okay, so oh God, do we have time? There's a story behind this.
Sure, we got it. It's our show.
So all right. So when we were do you have time?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
When we were shooting one of the episodes of Expedition X, the last season that I was on.
Yeah.
One of the camera guys and I don't know what we were talking about. We were laughing about dumb tattoos. I was probably making fun of one of his. I'm kidding. He has great tattoos. But I was like, we should all get tattoos. Like, we should all get, like, as a group, like a tattoo.
Yeah.
I don't know. It seemed like a great idea at
the time. Sure, yeah.
We didn't do it, FYI. However, that then prompted, well, what should we get? We should get ghosts because of the paranormal stuff. And I don't know how, but somehow we ended up with booner, And I'm like, well, I'm not going to get a ghost with a boner on my on my skin permanently.
Sure.
I mean, but I was like, but you know what? A pin would be a great way to scratch that itch and also be able to remove it when needed. And so I actually asked him permission. I was like, hey, do you mind if I use, because he was the one that came up with it. It was his idea to get a ghost tattoo with a boner.
Yeah.
And I was like, do you mind if I steal your idea for a pin? And he's like, no, go run with it. And so I made the booner pins.
And here's Booner.
And it's Booner, and it's like a little ghost, like a little sheet ghost with a boner. The boner's a little more aggressive than I would have liked. I wanted it to be cuter, like more of just like a bump under the blanket. But,
no, it's pretty pronounced.
But that's like definitely,
Yeah.
Well, so the thing was, I kept on going back and forth. So after my friend helped me draw it, and we did do the bump under the sheet, like we kept it with subtle. Yeah. I then sent the images off to the pin manufacturer,
right?
And they kind of fine tune it and make it so that you can actually create the pin. And they kept sending me back this aggressive boner picture, and I finally just got so sick of arguing with them about it. I was like, yeah, fine.
This
fine.
is it.
Fine.
Print.
I can print it.
Yeah.
So that's what we got.
This will simply be my Ron Jeremy ghost.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right. Well, thank you for the gifts of the pins.
Yeah.
Thank you for taking time to be with us on the
thanks for
show.
having me on.
Thank you for being here for the last ever Michigan Paranormal Convention.
Wait, what?
You knew that, didn't you?
Are you fucking kidding? No, I didn't know that this was that way. Are you serious?
Announcement was made about 3 weeks ago.
Something like that.
Actually.
Sorry, I was in Serbia.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, shit.
There we go. I lost the audio for a second. All right, we're good.
Oh.
Yeah. So yeah, it is. This is the finale. We're ending on 14, and so I'm glad we got you in.
God dang it, you guys. This sucks.
It'll be a very bittersweet weekend for sure. Lots of emotions.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm glad I made it.
On that note,
Yes, well.
On that note, Jessica Chobat, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Inside the Creaking Door, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we've got more spooky stuff coming up. You're listening to Creaking Door Podcasts.
Intrepid explorers Duff and Shaw landed their airship in the heart of the World's Fair, unveiling their latest exotic snacks and confections from their adventures in parts unknown. Have you yet tasted their mysterious dark chocolate almonds straight from the shadows of the Himalayas, a recipe only known by the Yeti himself? Or from the deepest heart of the jungle, the sacred gummy, so captivating it was worshipped by ancient tribes? Have you dared seize the forbidden sour gummy, the treasured confection of the pharaohs? Or have you braved Duff and Shaw's secret spicy Buffalo Ranch cashews, crafted by the king of the cryptids himself, the elusive Sasquatch? Have you indulged in the sour cherry eggs from the shadowy Mothman? Or from local legend Prissy, the monster of Lake Superior? These snacks and many more are available at duffandshaw.com or at your fine local establishments, Mystery Town, USA, Cup of the Day, and Great Lakes Gifts. Run, don't walk to gobble them up before the season ends. Until next time, adventurers, Duff and Shaw's legendary snacks. Snacks too good to stay a mystery.
Our world is filled with hidden mysteries and wonders for those who open themselves up to possibilities that science has not yet explained. Tim Ellis and Brad Blair, two of the authors who brought you Supernatural Haunts, Upper Peninsula Paranormal Research Society case files, and hosts of Creaking Door Paranormal Radio, continue their exploration of the bizarre and otherworldly in their latest book, Great Lakes Monsters and Mysteries. Join Brad and Tim as they recount some of the myriad legends of the lore of the United States Great Lakes region, along with monsters of the deep you'll read of UFOs and alien encounters, shapeshifters, cryptids, both winged and terrestrial, imps, fairies, gnomes, black-eyed kids, haunted lighthouses, and phantom schooners. Tim and Brad also share some of the ghost stories and mysterious happenings shared from their listeners of Creaking Door Paranormal Radio. Get your copy of Great Lakes Monsters and Mysteries today at www.supernaturalhaunts.com. And welcome back inside Creaking Door Paranormal Radio. It is Tim Ellis and Brad Blair with you. And as we said going into the interview, Brad, we knew it was going to be an easy interview with Jessica because she's fun. She loves to have a good time. And as you can see, our conversations kind of took a few different turns.
I think we could have just maybe put down the headsets and went out and grabbed a coffee and let her talk.
I think we could have.
And I think Jess would have been fine with that.
Been just fine. But we want to thank Jessica for taking time not only to be inside the Creaking Door, but actually be in studio with us. We appreciate that. We know how busy she is. She's got a few new projects she's working on.
Yeah.
So we wish the best for her for sure. But again, here we are coming back to Creaking Door Paranormal Radio. It's been quite a while. We've been doing Creaking Door since 2016,
somewhere around
there, 2015,
14 or 16. So I don't know. Who knows?
I think
Who knows?
I think our earliest shows have actually been lost. Like if anyone has a copy of them, I would love them. I think our first couple of years.
I don't know if I would.
Yeah, that is true. And then we ended up jumping to a different platform, and those ones we were able to dig back up, and those are all coming back online as well. So going back to at least 2016, you're going to be able to get some of our older shows from 2016 and get us caught up to now. So lots of old Creaking Door podcast episodes out there too. We've interviewed
anybody and everybody in the
yes.
paranormal field, it seems, at this point.
Yeah, it was fun to actually go back through some of those old files, and I was reminded of some of the people that we interviewed that I forgot.
Yeah.
What was the one we did with Tui around Christmas time?
Oh, Tui Snyder. Yes, that was fun. The Santa Claus bank robbers.
Yeah, that was a very unique interview.
True crime story. Yeah, no, you look back and look at all of these TV shows that have come and gone through the years since we've been doing this in the paranormal reality field.
Right.
And there are very, very few that we have not had a star or a cast member appear at least once or several times on this show.
Yeah, exactly. And speaking of which, let's go ahead and touch on that, look how things have changed since our last show that we did. The paranormal television field is almost dead.
It's
a lot of the ones that people have gotten used to did not get their contracts renewed.
No, and it's you and I are somewhat on the inside when it comes to a lot of this. We talk to a lot of people. We know a lot of people in the field, and it just seems like they are in this ebb where they're letting all of the paranormal shows pretty much just fade off for the time being. Networks are not looking for new ones. It seems everything right now is going towards cryptids, UFOs, which is great. Both fields that we both dearly love.
Right.
So,
yeah.
But yeah, we've seen this happen briefly in the past, but not to this extent. So who knows what's going to happen in the realm of paranormal television?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's an ebb and flow. I think, give it a few years, it might be 3 or 4 years down the road, but I think you'll see some of the shows might not be the same shows we were used to, but I think you'll see paranormal shows come back around at some point with a bit of a remake.
We haven't seen a complete purge like this in the last 20 years. It's been 20 years since Ghost Hunters debuted on Sci-Fi Network back then. And now it is, from what you and I know, there are no ghost hunting shows, with the exception of Ghost Adventures, that have been renewed going into this upcoming year.
Yeah, and to think at one time Animal Planet even had their own ghost hunting show.
They did.
I mean, that was I think that might have been Fonzie jumping the shark at that point.
Didn't John Zaffis appear in that?
Did he?
It seems to me Zaffis was in an episode on that.
I got to find that out now.
That seems to me he was in one of those. But yeah. I mean, everything's kind of popping over right now. And you've got Expedition Bigfoot, I really enjoy. That's doing very well. That's on Discovery. I don't think we've had anybody from that on here yet. We'll have to...
yeah, you're right. That might be one.
We'll have to hit up Russ Acord or Maria Mayer and get one or both of them on here coming up.
A couple times we had Finding Bigfoot on.
Yeah, Cliff and Bobo.
Yeah.
One of my favorite episodes, we were sitting in the studio waiting for them to call in. Nobody called. We're told that Cliff never misses an interview. Cliff had fallen asleep. He'd mowed his lawn and was taking a nap and overslept it. Bobo called us while he was getting his oil changed. And we ended up sitting in the studio about an hour late before we even started, but it was such a fun interview. Those guys were so much fun.
Yeah, they are good people, and hopefully we'll see them down the road again, whether it's at other conventions or they're finding their way back to TV as well. So either way. But usually right now, this final segment of Creaking Door, Brad, is where we do a thing called Mailbag. But since we hadn't been doing Creaking Door for over a year, didn't have any mailbag questions.
No, just been burning those at the bonfire pit down at my cabin at Sasquatch Shores. So
that we have.
It's very hard to burn the electronic mail.
It has that weird smell, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah. So keep that in mind for future episodes. We love to do a mailbag section here where we ask our listeners if you have any type of question you want to run by Brad and I, or even just share a story, whatever it is. Hell, share a cookie recipe with us. We'll be happy with that, too.
Hit us up on social media.
Yes.
Find Creaking Door Paranormal Radio. You can send it to that. You can get Tim or I on Facebook, Twitter. You don't do the tweeting that much, though, do you?
I don't. I've got the account, and every now and then I'll pop in and see what's going on, but I need to do it more.
There you go.
Yeah.
If you do pull up the Creaking Door page, Facebook, for the cesspool that it is probably the account that gets checked and updated the most.
Yeah.
So that's probably the best to send us anything outside of our personal accounts, as I said.
Yeah, absolutely. So find us there. Send us any question and or story you want to share for our mailbag segment, and we will be happy to share that on an upcoming episode of Creaking Door. So remember, you can find us right here. Our main page where you can find us is bridgefm.net. You click on the podcast and you'll find Creaking Door in there, but you can also find us on all the mainstream podcast places as well, such as Amazon and Spotify and iTunes and Podbean, and there's so many these days I can't even keep track of them, but we're out there. You can find us. So, anything else?
I think
on our return?
I think that's great.
Yeah.
What an episode. Just having Jess in for that really reinvigorates us, I think, too. Her energy is something to be around.
Yeah, it is. It really is. And we've already got a handful of guests that are going to be coming in inside the Creaking Door. We're ready to roll with them. So we're going to keep this this machine rolling, and we're happy to be back in the studios with Creaking Door Paranormal Radio. Brad, one more time, go ahead and give another plug for your book, because you've worked hard on that, and it's your first solo project. You and I have worked on 2 books together, along with another friend of ours, Steve LaPlante, who is on one of the books with us.
Supernatural Haunts.
Yeah.
Yep, and we have another one that we're going to be working on this winter.
We do,
so we've got to get that lined up next, I guess. But yeah, Paranormal Justice, Hauntings, Cryptids, and Curses in the Court of Law is something that's always fascinated me since I was young, I guess. I can remember a case coming on TV where a haunted house was involved all the way up to the Supreme Court of the state of New York.
Right.
And I've just always been fascinated. I've always kind of poked around here and there and did a little research on other cases that way. And as I mentioned earlier, during COVID, I was stuck in the house so much that I thought, hell, this is the right time to do this. So I sat down, got heavy into the research, heavy into the writing, and yeah, it took about 3 years, but I was really happy with the end product, and hopefully some of our listeners can grab it and will be as well. If you do get a chance to read it, by all means, leave a review on Amazon, fire me a message, let me know what you thought about it. I would love to hear your opinions on it.
There you go. Check it out. It is a great book. You will enjoy it. I guarantee it. So that is going to do it for this episode of Creaking Door Paranormal Radio. On behalf of my co-host Brad Blair and myself, Tim Ellis, thank you for coming on inside the Creaking Door Paranormal Radio, powered by BridgeFM.net.
The Creaking Door.